let's talk about another underrated card, this time from Duel Links. The last card I talked about in Duel Links was Burst Stream of Destruction, a card I still stand by, but don't play as often because Subterrors isn't as prevalent in the meta as it used to be. But there is one card I've been playing during the past few seasons and has gotten me to King of Games numerous times. Share the Pain. So what does it do? Well, it's a magic card that states, tribute one monster, make your opponent tribute one monster for no effect. This is the errata text. The first time I seen this card was its release in Metal Raiders, and the text at the time was different. The original text states, offer one monster on your side of the field as a tribute. Your opponent must select one monster on his/her side of the field and offer it as a tribute. This caused confusion because the game was still young at that time. Tribute was a term that was only associated with summoning a monster. When this card first came out, numerous people, myself included, thought it worked like Soul Exchange. You can summon a monster by using one of your opponent's monsters as a tribute. But with the terminology of the game still being fleshed out, it did not take long to realize that this is not at all what Share the Pain does, and as a result the card was discarded from many decks. Sure, you can tribute one of your own monsters to get rid of a troublesome monster your opponent controls, but the problem was you did not get to choose the monster your opponent has to tribute. Another thing to consider is your own field. This was a time in Yu-Gi-Oh! In which tribute summoning was still a common way to get your most powerful monsters out, so every monster on your field mattered. With each new set release, the game continued to change and monster management became more efficient. Tribute summoning was still important, but there were more options in special summoning. Share the Pain could have had its uses, but rather than being utilized in the growing pool of grave and search effects, it was instead forgotten and faded away in the sands of time. That is until its release in Duel Links, as a rare in the box Blazing Rose. I did not pay much mind at first, but after pulling a few of them from the boosters, something clicked in my head. Being a blue-wise duelist, a lot of my cards have grave effects. The most common way to trigger them is to have my opponent attack and send my monsters to the grave. Another easy way was through discard effects, like Snipe Hunter. Though Snipe Hunter began to lose its appeal to me because my luck with this card is so rotten, about 90% of the time the dice will roll on either a 1 or a 6. Sure, I got my grave effect, but the card destruction would have been nice too. Share the Pain works differently. Once activated, even if my opponent has the option to negate the effect and save their own monster, the tribute of my own monster is still considered cost. So no matter what, I'm still going to get my grave effect, and the odds of Share the Pain's effect failing is far less likely than Snipe Hunter's. Share the Pain is so good whether the effect is negated or not, I'm still going to get a massive payoff. Using an egg or a Dawn Knight as the cost, it will allow me to get a Blue Eyes on the field on my end phase. And in Duel Links, having only one boss monster on the field is quite common, and because Share the Pain is a non-targeting effect, if not negated, your opponent has no choice but to offer their only monster as the tribute. And trust me, this works. Every time I use Share the Pain, there's at least a 10-second delay, because my opponent just doesn't know how to respond to it. It's a card that I think not many people have seen played before, and I believe it. I've been playing Share the Pain for the past 5 seasons, and I have not seen anyone else use it. Why is that? Well, the only reason I can think of is maybe a lot of people are using decks that are low on grave effects. Blue Eyes probably has one of the largest advantages in putting monsters in the grave on purpose. Other decks like Fortune Lady and Six Samurais do utilize the graveyard, but in a different way. They get their monsters in the grave via synchro summoning and then depend on their banishing effects to either protect their monsters or thin out your field. Share the Pain really is one of those cards that has much more value in Duel Links than it does in the actual TCG. A card in which its mistaken effects cause it to fade into obscurity to now being a hidden gem in a different format of the game, and I think it deserves more attention. So if you play Duel Links and you have a deck that relies on grave effects, give Share the Pain a try. Trust me, your opponent will not see it coming. So this is your Dragon Lady saying to be a good sport, play the game, not the fame. See ya! Thanks for watching! If you like what you see, subscribe and be sure to click on the bell for notifications. You can also check me out on Facebook. The link is in the description below. Happy dueling!